so today we're going to be working on telling time to the quarter hour. So if you think about the word quarter, when we're talking about money, there's 4 quarters and a dollar because quarter is another way of saying fourth. So when we're talking about quarters, whether we're talking about hours or we're talking about quarters, there's 4 sections. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to divide our clock first vertically. And I'm also going to do a horizontal line to divide it into 4 sections. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. Now we've already talked about telling time to the half hour. That's when our minute hand is pointing at the 6 and our time would be half past whatever hour it is, or the hour and 30 minutes. Today we're going to be talking about the other 2 numbers on our clock. We're going to talk about this 3 over here, and we're going to talk about this 9 over here. So if our time, let's say our hour hand is pointing over here a little bit past the 10, and our minute hand is pointing at the 3. We know first we look at the hour hand, we see it's between the 10 and the 11, so we go back to the 10, and we would write our time as 10. And then for the minutes, since it's right on one of the numbers, we can count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, and we know that it is 10:15. So that's one way of saying this time. Another way of saying 10:15 or any hour with the number 15 minutes is quarter after, because it's a quarter of the way past the hour, or another name for it is quarter past. So I can say that the time is 10:15, or I can say it's a quarter after 10 or a quarter past 10, and all of those are correct ways to say that time. So now we're going to change it to a different time. I'm going to redraw my red line here. Let's say my hour hand is pointing down here between the 4 and the 5, and my minute hand is pointing over here at the 9, which is the other number that my red line is touching. So it's between the 4 and the 5, so if I'm doing my hour, I always go back to the number that it's gone past. It's gone past the 4, so I'm in my 4 o'clock hour. And if I'm not sure how many minutes the 9 is, I can count by 5s around the clock. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. 4, 45. Now, our hour hand is closer to the 5 than the 4, because if you look at this minute hand, it's pretty close to the 12, and we know that once it gets to the 12, that's when our hour changes. So as our minute hand is going around the clock, our hour hand is getting closer to the next number. It's not on that number yet, but it's closer to it than when it was on the 3, and it was closer to the earlier number. So we know it's 4:45. Another way of saying this time we can use the words quarter to, or we can use the words quarter of. The tricky part of this one is we're not going to say 4 anymore, because it's getting closer to the next hour. We're going to say what the next hour is. It's not quarter to 4. We're actually going to go to that next hour, so we look at where it's getting closer to. It's getting closer to the 5. So one way to say this time is 4:45. Another way of saying it is quarter to 5 or quarter of 5. So when you're doing quarter to, or we're working with that 45 minutes, when you're saying these words, quarter to, you're actually going to go to the next number. So I'm going to do one more like that. I'll keep my minute hand there. And let's say it's up here. My 45 minutes is going to stay the same because my minute hand stayed the same. We know that's still 45 minutes. My minute hand, or my hour hand now has changed, and actually that's a little bit long. It's now between the 12 and the 1. So I always go back to the number that it's gone by the 12, so that's gonna be my hour. It is 12:45. But it's getting closer to that 1 o'clock hour. So when I say these words, I'm not gonna say 12 anymore, I'm gonna go to 1 o'clock. 1:45 or 1:15. All right, so on your assignment today, you're going to have a page that looks like this with lots of little clocks on it, and you're gonna be working on telling the time in 2 different ways. So the first way is going to be with the digital form, and then the second way is going to be with words. So if it's 5 o'clock, first you would write the digital time, 5 o'clock, and then on the line they give you, you would just write 5 o'clock. If it's 5:30, you write 5:30, and then for the words you would write 5:30. If it is 5:15, you would write 1/4 or 1/4. You can do either one of those, and you would do 5:15. And then the last one, if it was 5:45, you would write 1/4 or 1/4. Either one is fine. But remember, this is the one where we go to the next hour. So the next hour after 5 is going to be 6 o'clock. So instead of writing a 5 here on this line, I will write 5:45. And that is how you do that page.